All right, let me show you the breakdown of how documentary animation is being done in After Effects. So here's an example of one of the recent documentary edits I did.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, never really existed, and that the man we all think we know was just the face of a CIA and Mossad operation designed to control the very people we believe run our world? It's been 6 years since his passing, and yet here we are still talking about him, and the questions only continue to pile up.
All right, so that is it. So I made this in After Effects, but I did the sound design here in this app that they call Filmora. So Filmora is a software, is an editing software from Wondershare. Yeah, from Wondershare. So I'm going to be doing all of this again in After Effects and show you how you can do it at ease in just few time. Alright, welcome back to my YouTube channel where I get to teach you guys new editing tricks to level up your content. Without wasting much of our time, let's dive into the tutorial. Alright, so let me open up After Effects. Alright, so this is my After Effects and I'm going to click on new project. So it doesn't mean if you are familiar with After Effects, even though you are not familiar with it, I'm going to break it down to your level. All right, so the first thing I need to do is to organize my project file. So for this edit, I already have my stock footage that I want to use. So it's just a 20 seconds intro. So I have my footage that I'm going to be using for this edit in one folder. So I'm going to select all of this and minus this and bring it into After Effects. So the next thing I need to do is to create a comp from this. You can let's click on the project panel area, or you just come here, and click new composition and you input the value documentary breakdown, and I'm gonna set this to okay, 24 fps is okay, and okay. The next thing I need to do is to import my voiceover. This. So I'm going to bring this to my timeline and we have it.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, never really existed, and that the man we all think we know...
So now I have my audio in my timeline and expand over to 24 seconds. The first thing I need to do is to bring in this guy, this generated image. Yeah, so I generated this in ChatGPT. I'll drop the prompt in my description below. So I'm going to span this and stretch it to occupy the whole screen. I'll set this to fit so I can see it well. So I'm going to scale this and rename it to BG, board background. Alright, so board background. Make this a 3D layer. Then, so looking at what we have here. What
if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So we want to create this first scene first.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
Right. So after this is done like this, I'll take in the subject. This is the subject. So this particular image too, I generate this image too in ChatGPT. So I just took in the image from my online source, so I needed the image to be in a fine suit and something that I can use to start the video. And ChatGPT gave me the full body picture. Alright, so I'm going to scale this down. And also turn on the 3D layer. Alright, good. After that, I'll come over to the next thing. So what do we have again?
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
We have the two pictures coming out from this side. You see it. You have.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
You have the two pictures coming out from the side of the subject So it's very simple. We can do this like this. Let me add in another picture. Okay, again we make this a 3D layer and put it at the back. We come over here and yeah, it's at the back like this. Then I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna max this out to give it this. I'm going to max this out so that we can have this box shape. Max it out. I'm selecting the wrong thing. Make sure that it is selected. I'm going to rename this to image 1. Always remember to always save your work. Yeah, documentary break down. So with this one selected, I'm going to do it this way and take it like this. Then on the image I'll apply this effect called effect good effect and search for roughen edges and add it on it, and you create a border, increase the border I mean. So once you increase the border, then the fractal influence you drop that. Your border should appear now. So you can increase that too. For the sharpness we can increase it too, so that we don't have this blur edge around it. Alright, so I'm going to fit in back. We have the first image. So I'm going to scale it down. Bring it this way. Alright, so I'll bring the other image to the timeline, and I'll also scale it up. Then so since I've done the same thing for image 1, I'll just go ahead to the effect control panel and copy the roughen edges and put it to this. So now we see that we also have the effect in this place. Then before we do that, let's just max this out. So I'm going to max this in this way. Then max it in this way. Max it in this way. Then I'll come over and paste paste the effect. So now we have the rounded corner. So I'm just going to reduce it so that we can also have it almost the same thing to this one too. All right, so that being said, I'm going to rename this to rename to um rename sorry, image 2. Good. So this guy, put it at main subject 1. So it's good to also follow this prototype I'm using to rename my layers, because at some point you might have close to 100, 200. You should be able to figure out the particular one that you are looking for in your edits, I mean in your timeline. All right, let's continue the journey. So I have this. I'll make sure that I is in 3D layer. Is in 3D layer. I'm gonna padlock this and I'll check this. Check this. All right, everything is in 3D layer. All right. So the next thing we need to do is to work on the main subject. Yeah, the main subject focus. So I will add in brightness, brightness and contrast under the main subject and increase the contrast so you have more clarity on the face. So this is a generated image and sometimes it might be a little bit blurry. All right, so that being said, so what else do we have again on our reference?
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So we have,
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? The dis- What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
so now let's work on the animation, on the intro animation. You have it this way and you tilt this, you tilt this, you come here, you tilt this, and then you bring it down. The next thing you need to do is to add in your camera two node, yeah, two node, and you select OK. All right, and the next thing you need to do is to add in your null object. Then you connect your camera to your null object. Throughout the animation, once you link the camera to the null object, you don't need to touch the camera again. So by default settings, we now have all the camera properties in our null object. So all you just need to do is to just animate from the null object. So animate the scale, the rotation, the x and y, and also the position. I'll select all of these and copy, and I'll bring it down here. The first part, I'm going to scale it. I'm going to scale it up and add in the Z rotation. The Z rotation, right? Okay.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, never really existed? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
To bring it to this place. So let's have it again.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced...
All right. So the next thing we need to do now is to animate the main subject. Yeah, is to animate the main subject. You open the main subject, the position of the main subject, then I'm going to click on it like this and move it to the left. Before you do that, just make sure you put it here, because the main subject did not appear from the beginning. I'm going to place it here, then I'm going to move this out. I'll move this out. But before that, so that you won't make mistake in the initial position, it's always advisable that you keyframe it here and also copy the keyframe and put it at the ending point. So you come back here and you drag it outside. So let's see what we have.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgrace? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So we're going to put this at the beginning here too.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
All right, so we have the main animation now. Let's turn off the two images above, at the back I mean. Then I'll select all of this and add in the easy ease. Then I'll come over here and, you know, I'll take the value and give it this curve. Yeah, so the smoothness of your animation also depends on your graph shape. Yeah, it depends on your graph shape, it depends on the edit speed graph, and it depends on the edit value graph. So if you are able to tweak this well to your own taste, I believe you should be able to get the best smooth motion in your animation. All right, so let's just check this out and see how it goes.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So that came into early.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? The disgrace.
So I adjusted a little, then I'll come over here, I'll work on the way the subject to enters. It matters. How easy is, then I'll give you this value, I'll tweak it at the end here, and I'll tweak it at the end here. So I have more influence speed rolling down to the end. Alright, so let's check it out.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So I think I've completed the first part. Then we have, let's work on this and this. So from the reference, yeah, from what I did,
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
so it came out from the side. I think that is pretty simple to do. That is pretty simple to do. It came out like this. Then I'll trim this to this area. Yes, I'll trim this to this area. Then I'll work on, I'll trim this to this area and I'll work on it. Then there's there's two ways I can do it. Is either I scale this down or I use the max tool. So let me work on the positioning. So we're going to do this using position and scale. Position and scale. So the first thing I need to do is that before you animate anything in After Effects, sometimes the movement of your animation is dependent on where the anchor point is. So if I place the anchor point at this side, that means I'm going to expect an animation that is going to span in, span out from the middle. That means if I scale it down to 0 and I want to scale it back to 100, I'm going to have this kind of animation that will come from the middle. So looking at what we want to achieve in this place, we want the animation to span in from this area out. So you need to reposition the anchor point. So you do that by coming to this icon here. You do that by coming to this icon and you drag it down. So I'm going to place this in this place. So always remember to save your project so that you won't be shocked. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is to work on the next thing we need to do is to work on the animation now. I'll click on scale, position. I'll click on position and give it here and here. I'll put another one there, and I'll come over to this place and drag this down. Drag this down. Then I'll come over to this and add in opacity 0. So opacity here. Then I'll increase it.
Jeffrey Epstein, the disgrace. Jeffrey Epstein, the. What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm going to work on the scale to this level and scale it again. So at this level I'll put 0.
Jeffrey Epstein, the dis. What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the dis. What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the.
Alright, so I'll scale it. I'll adjust the I'll adjust this a little and add in the easy ease to it. I'll come to the value graph and create more influence for it at the ending point. So we have it speeding out a little, and at the end of it slows down. So I'm going to do the same thing too for image 2. For image 2, we'll do the same thing.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So I'm going to move this to this point and open up position and scale. You keyframe both, and contrary to the other part, I'm going to come to the other part too and you keyframe it to at the end. Like I've always said, always try to keyframe it at the beginning and you keyframe it to the end. From what I said your anchor point determines where the animation is going to start from. So I'm going to change the anchor point of this and place it in this place. Good. Then so this is the anchor point, and the scale should be in 0.
Told you Jeffrey Epstein, the.
So for this guy too, I'm going to come here and drag it down.
Told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disc.
So let's spice this up. Let me close this guy. Let's spice this up and give it easy ease. Please always remember to save your work. Always remember to save your work. Always remember to save your work. Then you give it the easy ease and let's see. So I want the first one to come in. I think image 2 will be the first, and this will be the second. All right. So let's just see what we have again.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, what if I told you Jeffrey Epstein,
So that's how it's done in a minimalist way. So let's work on the text also. Je- Jeffrey uh let me see the name. Epstein. 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 Let me change the fill color. Change the fill color. Then also remember to make this a 3D layer. So once you so one of the thing that interests me in camera is that, you know, if I was using only the null object, if I'm using only the null object, it will require me to link any object that I want to animate to the null object. So if any layer is not linked to the null object, there will not be animation for it. So that's why I like the power of the camera. So camera, once it noticed any layer is in 3D, the animation you give to the null object will be automatically applied on your layers. That's how cool camera is. Alright, so let's continue. So once I make this a 3D layer, which I've done that, once I make it a 3D layer and put it here, so let me just increase the size. Jeffrey Epstein, increase the size, and you bring it down. Jeffrey Epstein, you bring it down, and you save your work. Like I always said, always remember to, save your work for, so that you won't cry. This app can just crash at any time, so that you can still have your work. But thank God, After Effects now you have autosave that makes you to always come back anytime there's an issue. I'm going to change this. So give this medium. Save extra boot. Save. So have you seen like that?
what if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So if I any layer that I make 3D, the animation will be automatically applied. So we can just spice this up by adding some animations to it. Like I've not used any plugin. I've not used any plugin. I've not used any plugin yet. So all what I'm just doing is just what I have in After Effects. Slide in, pop in, slide in, pop in. Okay, so there I put the effect. Alright, so I'll add in, slide in, pop in. Alright, so we should have something like this.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
Sorry, my render engine. Let me save that, and maybe I'll just drop the resolution. Drop resolution to half so that you can see it well.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein? What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
Jeffrey Epstein. Alright, so
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein?
So how do you create? Let's check the next thing.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
So if you look at what happened here, there is continuity in the animation. There is continuity in the animation. So this continuity in the animation gives you retention. What the retention is? Retention is what keeps your viewers, it's what keeps your audience glued to your content. So
What if I told you?
the whole process is not idle. We have it.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
So it was still moving back slowly, and there's another what would I call it? There's another animation going on behind it that makes it comes out. That's what we call continuity in animation. Continuity. All right, so let's quickly do that. To make sure that you have
What if I told you Jeffrey
to make sure that you
Epstein?
have continuity in animation, you can do that in a very quick and simple way. We want to work next on
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
we want to work next on the lens. So to get access to free 3D modules, you just type in sketchlab.com. So in sketchlab.com, you input the model that you want to use. So for this edit, I use magnifying glass. I have magnifying glass, so I'm just showing you how to get 3D models, and I've also put that on my page already before. Magnify, yeah. So we have a lot of them that you can use. So 80%, let's just say 50% of what we have here, 60% of what we have here is totally free, and even the free ones are very good, like the paid ones. All right, so you just click on it, and this one is paid. Let me look for free ones. Let me see this. This should be free. Then you click on download module, and you make sure that you are downloading the GLT format. Yes, make sure you are downloading the GLT format. All right, so I'll go to where I have it in my file. Then once you download it, this is how it's going to come in. You extract, and you bring that into After Effects. Oh, so now it's telling me that 3D models primitive in your composite required blah 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 blah. Okay, said okay. So I'm going to make this magnifying glass model. Click OK. So sometimes it might be really really big. I'm going to put this to 2. Aha, so now it's appearing. So let's just scale it down to 1, and you so any layer that we're not using, let us just add in the padlock so that we do not tamper with what we have done. So we have this now, so I'm going to bring it this way and rotate it in this angle. I'll bring it down here, and so like I said, we want to create the animation that
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
smooth zoom out animation that it is not even noticeable at all. So let me turn off this first. Let me turn it off. I will unlock the new object. So this is how I want to create continuity in your animation. Continuity. Yeah. So I will duplicate this. Good. I'll duplicate this, then I'll link this to the first null object. to this one that is up. So after I've done that, I'll close the down one. I'll open this up one. Open. I'll open the keyframe properties with U on your keyboard. Press U on your keyboard to see all the keyframe properties that you have created. So once you duplicate it, you know that you're still going to have the keyframe properties of the first one beneath. I'm going to select all of these and delete and delete. Then I will now work on the position. So what I'm going to animate in the position, you can use scale, you can use animation. You can use scale and you can use position. But most of the time I like to use position because of I just want to tamper with the point of interest. Alright, so let's quickly put that on this. So if you notice, the first animation
What if I told you Jeffrey
hasn't
Epstein?
finished at all. The first animation hasn't finished at all. So it's going to end at this point. So I'm going to create a keyframe here and it's going to come like this and I'll animate this guy out like this. Then we can work on the levels too. Sorry. You can work on the levels too by pulling it down a little. So let's see what we have.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
It's not smooth yet. So let me add the easing is good. You come to the graph editor and give it this. Add small influence a little at the back and keyframe velocity. Good. So let's see what we have.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier?
Have you seen it?
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced?
So now there is an issue. Let me put it to full resolution and work on it. So if you notice now we have all of this crashing with the main subject. That is because of we have made it advanced 3D. Yes, we have made it advanced 3D. So we can do that by selecting the main subject and you pull it out. So we do the same thing too for the text. Do the same thing too for the text. Ooh. And scale it down. Alright, so let me see what we have.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgrace?
So let's work on still having the clashes at the sides, main subject, you work on the point of interest. Hmm, this is where the issue is now. So when I animated the when I adjusted the point of interest the other time, it also affected the keyframe. So now I have two of it. So I'm going to delete this and I'll work on this and increase the point of interest a little. So I should have it settled now.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the dis? Disgraced financier.
Alright, so let's work on the magnifying glass. So give this full. So the scale also affected the magnifying glass. So I will correct that. Oops. So I'm going to give this 0.2. It's kind of small. So you can scale it down from this angle. You hold down your shift key so that the sides are not affected. Then I'll bring it up. Adjust it. So we now need to work on the point of interest. So scale it out. Yeah. So it does have the neon face in it. So I'm still going to scale it down. I'm going to scale it down and adjust it in the middle. So we have it this way. Then I'm going to come to the position. Just make sure that you trim this so that you don't have sluggish comp. Scale it down. Then please always remember to save your work. You add in, you scale it, then to this point too. All right, this point I think it has appeared fully in this place. Like I said earlier, always try to keyframe the beginning and keyframe the ending. You keyframe the beginning, you keyframe the ending. All right, so I'll work on this and I'll scale it down.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, never... What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier...
So we still need to work on the animation of the magnifying lens. Easy ease, then more influence at the end. Give it more influence at the end.
What if I told you Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier...
So you can see that it's pretty simple to do documentary animation, and it's kind of sweet, but it takes a lot of time and it consumes more energy. Alright, so that will be all for this section. In my next tutorial, I'll be talking about picking up from how I created this. Let me show you.
Never really existed.
So how I created this existed and walk you through the end to this point and how you can create this sequence
designed to control
in After Effects. So this tutorial has helped you in one or two ways to shape your documentary edit style. So I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.